If you love the look of airbrushing, we have a tool for you. It is a gorgeous thing, and I love the look of airbrushing.
It's called the eBrush. It's really easy to use, and I've had a lot of fun with it. Can't wait to show you how.
So, come play with us. Well, here it is. It's the eBrush. It comes in this box.
Right.
But there it is.
It's an air compressor. That's the box that you see here. It is an air compressor. And here is the actual eBrush tool. Now, when you get into the box, you're going to get this. You're going to get the eBrush tool, and you're going to get this hose. This comes disconnected, so you just have to push it onto the end here, and you have to push it onto this little piece here, this little plastic piece that it pushes on, and then you've got your hose connected to your airbrush pen. You also have this adapter, and you plug that in, and then you're ready to go.
And it also comes with some Spectrum Noir pens.
Right, it comes with 3 Spectrum Noir pens, a red, a green, and a blue. And that's what fits with the eBrush. Really, Spectrum Noir pens work great. Any pen that you can get into the little adapter. Here's the adapter. It also comes separately. When you put it on, I'm going to point out that there's a little notch right there. It's on both sides, really, and that's going to slide.
That little protrusion.
That little protrusion. It's going to slide into a slot on here. When you look at the adapter, keeping the hexagon-shaped opening on the left and the round opening on the right, I put that into the round opening. I'm gonna turn it this way so that those little babies just slide right into there. I push it on, and then I turn it until it's upright like that.
Okay.
Okay. Then when you use a pen, and I've got another pen right here, you go ahead and use the wide barrel, the, what do we call that? The
chisel.
The chisel point of the Spectrum Noir pen. And when I push it in, you know, I end up pushing it in and using it there. And if I don't get enough spray off there, and then I'll turn it and try it. You know, I just kind of keep churning it until it works just the way.
Parts might get dry as you're using it.
Right.
Okay.
So there it is. Within there, it's ready to go. Here's the little, this is the piece that you're going to push on there and make the air come through the tube and out this. It's going to spray on there. And first we have to turn it on. Okay, it makes a little noise. When I turn it on, first these really bright lights that are super bright for you because of our camera, they come on all at the same time, and then you use this to adjust a small fine point, a little medium point, and then a larger spray. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it on the large spray just for now, and when I start pushing this button, it's going to start making noise.
It does.
Right. So here it is. I just start spraying to see if I get anything. There we go. So if you don't get enough, you can push the pen in a little further, try to get it a little bit more. But you can get pretty detailed. You can get wide spray. If you go up higher, you get a little, it's a little more all over. It's a little hard for you to see that there. You can see. But you can also get really fine little dots like that. So it's just really fun to sort of play with like that.
Now this is a good time to remind everyone that the Spectrum Noir pens are refillable.
Right.
So even if you use lots and lots, you can still get more ink. So no problem.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep that handy so that I can turn that off, all the way off. And then I can hear the air going. If you push that, it lets the pressure out, and it's ready to go. I'm going to change pens. So really easy. I just pulled that one out. If you want to put the cap on that one for me. And I've got the other one, and I always use that chisel point end. I just want to show you something else that you can do with it here. I mean, you can just play with it on your paper, but there are other things you can do. And for example, you can use a dazzle as a stencil. I'm going to set this down. This actually sets right there, pretty nicely. And pull this. I've got this dazzle ready to go. I can't remember the name of these dazzles. It's from the scrapbooking dazzles.
Yes, it is.
Can't remember.
Now you put that on your hand just to remove a little of the stickiness?
Some of the stickiness because I'm using it as a stencil. I'm not going to leave the dazzle there.
Your blue Junes will work too.
Right. Yep. Perfect. And so I turn it on, and this time I'll leave it on the fine point and start spraying off the paper to make sure I've got something, and then I just start spraying right through the dazzle.
Okay.
And so that's acting as a stencil, And what's nice is that I don't have to use stencil tape or anything with this. You can also use a stencil, and we'll show that. We'll show that in a little bit.
Okay.
Turn that off and remove the dazzle. I'm just sort of grabbing. I have no fingernails today. So there we go. And so
there you go.
So that's a nice little effect. Yeah. I did another one of those with 2 different colors, sort of combined them, so you can get some different looks like that. And one of the things that I want to point out is this right here. And the reason is, if you're spraying along and you get pretty close, you have a tendency to, oops, do that while you're spraying. So make sure that you keep the pen up above the paper so that doesn't happen. Those are some of the things you can do just with Spectrum Noir pens, but there's a different kind of Spectrum Noir pens. They are called Spectrum Aqua. And with Spectrum Aqua pens, because they have that hexagon-shaped barrel, you can also use that, and I'm going to use that with some watercolor paper. So I've got watercolor paper, and I've got a couple of Spectrum Noir Aqua pens, so if you want to pull that one out. We'll put another one of these in. Let's see, I probably ought to get the craft sheet out. I've got a smaller one here. And this is one of the things I like about it. It's sort of like playing. You're going to play a little bit. You're going to get different looks. You don't want the fine point. You want the brush point on these, the wider point. And you slide that in there just like so. Push it down. And then I'm going to turn it on. So I'm turning it on. I'm choosing whatever setting I want, and then I test it. I'm just going to test on the edge here to see if I can get something, which I can. So these work just in the same way that the Spectrum Noir do. You can sort of adjust this, push it in a little bit more if you want, and really get it to give you some different colors. I'm going to put it in some different areas like this. I'm using the watercolor paper because the Aqua pens are water-based. They're not alcohol-based like the other pens are. I just think that's kind of cool. Just
it is.
you could write with it. I'm gonna see if I can. Let's see if I get close enough. I think I have to use the fine setting.
Yeah.
Let's see. There we go. If I get it just right. There we go. So you can actually write with it. Ah, it's writing hello. But go ahead and put it on the. No, wait. I'm going to change pens. So I just wanted to show you real quickly. And then we'll get into an actual project that was created with it. And if
But it's nice to see the techniques.
Yeah.
And just how easy it is to change the color.
Yeah, and it's quick. It didn't take very long for me to put these things on there.
Right.
So
I have a feeling you have a plan with what you're doing.
Right. You're just seeing me adding colors everywhere. What the heck is that all about?
Your squiggling is very nice.
But I'll hand you those.
Okay.
And then I'm going to spritz this with water. Because they're watercolor pens, so make kind of an interesting background.
Oh, so you can make them bleed.
Sure.
Ooh, pretty.
You can even spray it a little bit more afterwards, get some different effects. And I did that on a couple of other little test pieces here. I did it on this one, so you can get some different looks. I did it on this one, and then I stamped on it and colored it in with some of those Aqua pens.
Beautiful.
So, lots of fun ways of using that.
Oh, neat.
Okay,
neat.
So now we're going to push this up here and
we'll see
show you a project.
Okay, so here's one that Gail has done. And this happens to have a piece of acetate across the front of it. And this was done using the Viney Swirl cutting die.
Right.
Now,
and there are different layers of that eBrush being used on this card. For one, you're seeing it on this actual die cut on the front. So we created a die cut with that Viney Swirl, and then we sprayed it with the eBrush with a couple of different colors. And then when you open it up, I sprayed through the actual cutout that I made, and I'll show you how I did that.
Okay.
So I sprayed again onto this cardstock, and then I used another cutting die.
Use the Fancy Lattice. Now this is a cutting die that looks like this.
Right.
It has, you're seeing white foam,
right.
and that's to make it easy to pop out. So you can see all of those little pieces. Maybe it's better to show it to you there.
Like that.
But that's where you've done it right here.
Right. So I used the actual cutting die, or die cut, and put the die cut piece here, and then I sprayed through that as well. So used it on the die cut, used it for this silhouette here, and then here.
Kind of shadows on shadows.
And I even used it on the acetate, so you can see
on the edge.
some sprays of it. So you can pretty much spray it on anything. The last place that I used it was on these dazzles right here. The Get Well Soon dazzles is the 3-pack of the Everyday Greetings dazzles.
Gotcha. It's from this set. Now, you didn't like the fact that you had gold, silver, and black. You wanted something else,
something a little different.
didn't
so
you,
I
Gail?
just sprayed them with the eBrush and chose a couple of different colors that I wanted and just sort of mixed them.
And because that was done with the Spectrum Noir pens, they're alcohol-based, which is going to color the dazzles. Yeah.
So I can show you some of the steps.
Okay.
Or do you want to show the cardstock that I used was this pastel cardstock as well.
Right. And this cardstock, there's 20 sheets in here. They are pastel, and they're included in the offer with this eBrush for this webisode.
Right.
Yeah. So that helps. And so that was the green that you used?
Let's see. Yes, that's the green in the background. So lots of different colors in there to choose from. So here is the green cardstock. And I'm starting out with, here is the die cut that I made, and here is the evacuated sheet that I used. And for this piece, I just placed this right on there, just like that. If you want some of those smaller areas to sit down, you can use repositional adhesive. I think that works pretty good. So I've got the eBrush. Let me grab that, pull it off to the side here. And the one that I used here, I used the Darks set of the Spectrum Noir pens. It comes in a box. It comes in a box like this. I can't remember how many come in there.
24, I think.
The 24 set of the Darks, and so a lot of darker colors, and they sort of complement those papers pretty well. So I'm going to place that marker in there. That's in. I turn it on. I'm going to set it on whatever setting I want and just start. I always, let me see, place this where I want it. I sort of want it on the edge there. I always test on something to make sure that I'm getting some color, and then I just start coloring. When I do this, you see I'm holding it in place with my finger because it's just kind of something that I do. You're going to get it on your fingers, so you're going to have to wash your fingers off. If you tape it down, that won't happen.
But you're in too much of a hurry always to tape it down, aren't you?
Well, you know, I don't want to make our audience wait. That's
there we
technically.
go.
So just go around until you get pretty good coverage. I'm just getting different areas of it. And I would take a little bit more time and get a little bit more detail. But that's what I do, just kind of keep laying down a little bit more color to get that look. Here we go, come on. Sometimes you have to move it. I'm going to turn it around, move it down a little bit further. See if I can get it. There we go.
So really, with that adapter, you would be able to use any kind of pen, probably.
Right.
Any marker?
Well, it's a wider barrel. It has to be a little bit of a wider barrel. It really fits the Spectrum Noir perfectly, so that's really nice. And then when I remove that, then you can get, I kind of like a ghosted look, so that's nice.
And that's really a nice thing that you can do with the airbrush look.
Right. And then the other thing, I'm not going to do it, but I'll go ahead and show you that I cut one of those die cuts like this, and then I cut it down the center and place it on the bottom. It was the Fancy Lattice cutting die. I cut a die cut. And then
so you had space.
Right.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I sprayed it again, and that's what you see on that card there.
Okay, so really making use of those cutting dies as well as the eBrush.
Right.
Okay.
And then just totally spray the heck out of the die cut.
Well, actually, what's
look.
nice about that is if you have the pens and get the eBrush, then you can do any cardstock, any of those colors. I mean, that's a pretty nice benefit.
It is.
So you can just do some fun things.
And I liked it on the acetate too. I just think that's kind of a nice, I mean, you could do that with some other brighter colors and really make that show up, and so that's a fun look too.
Very pretty. Now, I have a second project over here.
All right.
Let me bring this in. This is on an 8x8 board, and that's a really nice size if you want to do something that is not a card, not a scrapbook page, but maybe something to hang on the wall, and that's why you've put some of the glitter ribbon there.
Right.
And so this is using a stencil, and you said that you were going to do some stencils for us.
And I actually used a couple of stencils with that one. So first you can see in the background, I used the all over swirl stencil. I also used it on the canvas board.
So that's the pink area that we're seeing.
And then I used the fern stencil in front of that.
So,
and so here is a piece of paper. Here I've got a piece of pattern paper, and I've got the all over.
That won't be out until January.
Yeah, right. But you could also use cardstock or some other pattern paper, whatever you like.
She says trying to cover it up.
And then I've got my eBrush. I've got kind of a light pink here, and I put that in there. I turned it on. You already saw me do that a bunch of times, so you can hear it going. And I center it on this piece, and you can check the gallery for the dimensions of that paper. I do test it first to make sure that I've got something. And on this one, I did mask off the edges. I sort of like moved some. I masked off the edges before I did this, but I'm going to ignore that for the moment and just show you that if you leave the stencil in place and just sort of go darker around the edges, and I like to start off the project and then come onto it. That way you don't have like blots of color on your project. And I would do that all the way around the project, but I would leave it darker on the edges like you saw, and then lighter in the center. So I would do that around the edges to get that nice look.
Pretty.
And then I would take the fern, and for this project I used yellows and turquoises, and there wasn't a real great green, so I combined a yellow and a turquoise to get this nice green, which is another great thing about it, is that you can combine colors on top of each other and get the color that you want. 1, 2, 3, there we go. Let's see, I think I'll start it right. That's it. And there you can see some of the yellow coming through. I'm just going to do part of this so you can see that yellow. And then I'll put the green on top of it. I just think it's kind of fun.
It's a beautiful look. It really is.
Right. And then I've got the other one. And there you'll have green when you're done.
Yeah.
All right. In this case, I do have to turn
do a little shifting.
A little bit.
Okay.
I've been using these pens a lot. There are refills if you need to refill them. Put a nice, come on, green spot. I think I chose the pen that has the least amount of ink in it.
No doubt you did.
There we go. So you can see.
Now it's
if
turning
I pull
green.
That away, yeah. But that's, you can see
yes.
a little touch of it there. But that's what I did for the fern.
Pretty.
And then as far as that canvas board, it was real simple. It's the same process. And I put it on each corner. I actually sort of put it off the corner of the edge, sprayed one corner, moved it, sprayed another corner, and I did that for all 4 corners.
And then the flowers. Now the flowers are actually white, and you know, we've carried these forever. These are from Prima. They're white flowers.
Right. They're paper.
They're paper flowers,
so they
right?
hold a medium, and you can paint them, you can spray them, and you can airbrush them.
Just like
Different
so.
colors.
And
Very
of course,
simple.
we had to add a dazzle into the center.
Right.
And a few more dazzles right there with Beautiful Day, but you could stamp that also.
Right.
And just a really pretty look, especially that softness, and that's really what airbrushing is all about.
Yeah, the soft edges, I agree. So it's kind of fun to do. You'll spray and then you'll lift up and it'll just leave this nice soft edge. Just leaves it all up.
Gorgeous. So all the testing that you did and the projects that you've done.
Right.
And then you went on to do something else. And we have to explain this.
I was having fun.
Show it. Bring it in.
I was having fun with products we've not quite released yet. And it doesn't look much like that, but I'm going to lift it and now you can see.
So in January, there will be something called Foiled Fancies. No, you can't get them right now, but January 4th you can.
A little sneak peek.
And
Maybe I did it on purpose.
These are die-cut foiled pieces. They're a heavyweight board.
And they come in that beautiful gold foil.
Yes,
like
and you just clip them off and use them. And what have you done with with that gold?
I wanted my hands on them so that I could start playing around with them, and I airbrushed them, and I used red and yellow on these.
Red and yellow?
Red and yellow. I started with the reds, and I just sort of did it haphazardly, sort of all around the edges, and then added the yellow to sort of highlight it. And so each one of these, and I really love the yellows up on I added a little bit more yellow on those wings.
Gorgeous.
So really you can use this on anything. Spectrum Noir pens, because they're alcohol based, they will stay on something. They're permanent, and you can use them on chipboard, you could use them on acetate, you could use them on all sorts of buttons. Lots of little features.
Right, and one thing I do need to tell you is that supplies are limited. We wanted to offer it, kind of thinking that you might be go on your Christmas list.
Yeah,
so
might be fun for a fun toy for somebody.
Very, very fun, and some beautiful looks. And one nice thing is that this will last forever and ever. Just really do a good job with all the Spectrum Noir pens.
So have fun.